According to the Bible, the first human that never died was Enoch. Many stories and legends are based on this enigmatic figure. It is said that he was able to speak with God directly, and even angels asked him for help, as the angels lost got them into trouble with God. At this time, angels and humans didn't have the best relationship, but Enoch was the one that was the exception, since it was regarded greatly by both parties. To give some context, Enoch was the seventh generation after Adam. Genesis records about him, but in this video we're going to use an ancient source, which is the book of Jasher. Jasher 3:2 says that the soul of Enoch was wrapped up into the instruction of the Lord in knowledge, understanding, and he wisely retired from the sons of men, and secreted himself from them many days. So, understanding and knowledge means that he was the first human to acquire a lot of wisdom in the human realm, because if we think about it, Adam was the first one to acquire the knowledge, and in other sources it is said that he got knowledge from an angel in order to survive outside the Garden of Eden. Because if they don't know the world and they were secluded in a place, I believe that they need to get some instruction in order to survive, which is according to this legend. Later in the passage, it is written that an angel calls him to the presence of the Lord so he can learn the things then to be taught to the rest of humankind. This tells me that people did not have a guide on how to behave. One situation that intrigues me is when they specifically say that the soul was wrapped. My personal speculation, I can say that he visited another realm and his soul kind of detached from his body in order to travel there. After this journey, Enoch becomes a teacher or a source of knowledge for everyone. I picture him as a charismatic leader with a great speech and passion, with all the great qualities that everyone wishes on a king. And yes, he became a king. In fact, the first king mentioned on history, this happens on the year 687 from creation, according to the book of Jasher. His kingdom lasted 243 years. Coincidentally, this year that ended his kingdom was the death of Adam. Can we maybe assume that he felt sad, disappointed? We can't forget that Adam was supposed to be immortal, and maybe it was a big hit for him. His retirement was from kingship, but a teacher is always a teacher. He decided to seclude himself for 3 days, then go out, teach, and then seclude himself for another 3 days. After this, he changed his routine different times. He started coming every 6 days, and then after that he made it once a month, and finally once a year. So he was secluded the whole year, and people were only able to see him once a year. For some strange reason, after this, everyone was afraid of him. They thought that they could be judged by seeing him. This followed the idea of the Old Testament. When you were in sin, you were not able to go into the Holy of Holies because you will be dead. So I think they felt that if they were not pure, they could die, so they grew afraid of him. Kind of like the idea that he was godly and sin or bad behavior could not prevail in his presence. Later on, with time, people gathered to hear about him and hear his teaching and wisdom. And when he came out, he was proclaimed as a king. The book says that everyone started screaming, "Long live the king." I imagine that the love the people had for him was great, and even though he resigned from that position, he will never gonna stop being a king on the heart of all the people. In one of these encounters, probably the last one, when he was teaching, an angel came down and called Enoch, and he told him that he wanted to take him up into heaven to govern over the sons of God, which I understand them as angels. So basically a human going up and transforming himself to be a ruler of angels. I think from this part there are a lot of legends in the Jewish mysticism where they say that Enoch became an angel, but that's a story for another video. When Enoch knew this, he gathered a lot of people to instruct them for the last time and give them all the wisdom and knowledge and divine instruction. It seems that he was worried and wanted to make sure to leave all the rules of the game for the people that was staying here on earth. While he was giving this knowledge, he clearly gave instructions to be followed by the people, as he knew that he was not gonna be able to come back. At least that's what I think, because what will be the purpose of giving people knowledge if you can come back and teach them yourself, right? Now, the next part is about when Enoch was taken into heaven. It is described that a horse was coming down from heaven galloping on the air, and everyone was present at this time, and they were able to see how this horse was coming down to be in front of Enoch. We could say that this was a horse with wings like a Pegasus, but it doesn't talk about a horse with wings, so I don't think this was the case, as later on we see the horse behaving like a regular standard horse. It was described as a great spectacle, as something that you can see in a movie, where a horse comes into the stage while the professor is giving a lesson. This made me think about Lord of the Rings of Game of Thrones. It was so incredible that my reasoning is that was done on purpose, so everyone could preserve this memory on their mind and never forget and write about what happened that day to Enoch. This episode was so shocking that 800,000 men were following Enoch when he started riding his horse. I assume that he was riding north for some weather condition described after, but this is just my speculation. A day of journey passed and men were decided to follow him, and they didn't stop for nothing. The second day, Enoch insisted that they should go back and they should not continue the journey. But they were so motivated that they continued for 6 more days. In fact, these men told him that the only way they would stop their journey was by death. Then on the 7th day, winds and chariots with fire descended from heaven to take him away. Yes, this sounds familiar, as there is another person in the Old Testament with the same circumstances. Finally, on the 8th day, the kings were wondering how many of these men were surviving, so they went to the place where the ascension of Enoch happened, and they found a land full of snow and rocks of ice. That's why I say that probably he was traveling north, but we don't know. They were trying to find the remainder of the people that was with Enoch, but they didn't find anyone. At least it is not very clear, as a translation on the book said that they don't find him for he has ascended to heaven, but it does not specify if it's the 800,000 men that were with him, the rest of the people, or if it was just Enoch. In my opinion, Enoch is a fascinating character because it has many facts and many things that are coincidentally very suspicious. For example, the days of Enoch were 365 years, but a year has 365 days. So that to me is very coincidental or suspicious. Thanks so much for watching, and remember that the knowledge is out there for the discovery of the few. Don't forget to like and subscribe.